Assalamualaikum guys. I hope you guys are all well. You listened live to our radio today from a venue in the Batley. We're having a hosting tonight between the candidates who are standing for the election for the by-election. There's been some last minute plans changed, unfortunately, which wasn't in our control. But obviously, as we normally start our radio station every day, every time we go live, obviously that's how we're going to start on. Obviously, we don't respect, obviously, if we like to keep the phone silent and try to be hushed as much as we can. We want to try to wrap up this as quick as we can, won't take much of the time. We do enjoy the snacks and the drinks, obviously, as we get oil, enjoy the fruit also as well. As we normally start our radio station, that's how we started off. I'd like to greet you all with this Islamic terms. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You are listening to our Anwar radio live from our studios, in the venue in the Batley. I hope you guys are all well on this nice sunny Saturday. Which will be broadcast, so we all know the community is going to have an election or the by-election, and both candidates who have been standing on for different of the parties. Obviously, we've got Mr. Galloway, we have got Kim, we've got Ryan, we've got the Dr. Working Party, and along with the others also as well. We did invite everybody to come to this event today and let them stand up and talk about what their aims were towards the community. Labour Party also wanted to invite the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. We sent an email and messages on the 14th to the Labour Party, which they confirmed they were going to attend to this hustings night. Only today, about half an hour ago, they sent a message to say they wanted to cancel due to, obviously, sent a message I'll read out later on as well. We got a message saying this evening to cancel last minute with a petty excuse. I mean, to us, every vote counts. We're talking about other parties voting deposit. Personally, I found that quite disrespectful towards the community and our radio station, especially since Labour lost their own deposits a few days ago. Also, obviously, as a radio station, also we even invested. Nothing comes cheap, nothing comes free these days. We invested in the higher venue, the sound system, food, and everything. So obviously, it's quite disrespectful to us also as well for not turning up on the day also. Again, we could be conservative. To be fair, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the reason was, I just thought, they had a perfect chance and a perfect opportunity for them to come forward today and talk about what the aims are and the objectives are and what as each party wanted to do. Like, if they had a good way of showing things, they want to do something, this was their chance to come forward and shine. To me now, obviously, we're just an independent radio organization, radio, who was thinking how the community of Batley and Spen, especially in Mount Pleasant, the area, how will they benefit with the new MP. They had a perfect opportunity to come forward today and express themselves and talk about their objectives. To say, okay, this is our aim, this is what we want to do, and this is how we're going to take this forward. But fortunately, came to rescue not to come. We've got George Galloway, was turned on also. So I'll speak to George and give the platform to George and talk about what his aims and objectives are. To me, again, it's you never count your chickens before they hatch. This person goes out to Kim, personally. You never count your chickens before they hatch. Again, I repeat again, this was your perfect chance to come forward and talk about what you want to do as a party, what you want to do for the community of Batley and Spen. Without further ado, I'd like to bring forward, sorry, I'm saying that Michael, I'll go back to thank you. I'd like to go without further ado, I'd like to invite George onto the show. First of all, George, on behalf of our radio and on behalf of the Batley and Spen, thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for coming and thank you for accepting our invite.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Distinguished elders, scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's I who should thank you and commiserate with you for the great insult that the Labour Party has just delivered half an hour ago, not just to you personally, a man of distinction, a man of integrity, not just to the radio station, which is followed, as I know because I've appeared on it before, by many thousands of people in this area, about the insult that has been delivered to the voters in Batley and Spen, in such a cowardly way, for the Labour Party to renege on their written commitment that they would attend here this evening is condemnable, and I hope that people will condemn it. The cowardly excuse is, of course, just an excuse. The truth is that Labour know that we have taken already and will take on the 1st of July thousands upon thousands of votes from people that formerly voted for them. You can do the maths. If this is a two-horse race, it's a two-horse race between me and the Conservatives. The Labour Party 2 days ago lost their deposit in their worst by-election result in their entire history. They got 622 votes in a constituency where at the last election they got 7,000 votes. And at the one before that, they got 11,000 votes. Now they have 622. And I say to the Labour Party, who will no doubt be watching this, even though they didn't have the courage to come, that the fate of the Labour candidate in Amersham awaits the Labour Party here in Batley and Spen. They are going down to an historic and humiliating defeat in this constituency, and to give up the fight, as this withdrawal at the last minute clearly represents, is a very clear sign of that. I am happy, with your permission, to say what I was going to say if my opponent had turned up. But I'll be guided by you. Please guide me if you wish me to do anything different. But I would like to say that this is a parliamentary by-election of national and even international importance. They'll be staying up late in Kashmir, in Pakistan, in India, in Palestine, to hear the result of this by-election. They'll be staying up late in Britain to hear the result of this by-election. This is not a council election. It's not about dog poo or fly tipping, or even potholes, though I find potholes in this constituency so large you could lie down and sleep in them. And it's lucky for Labour that it isn't a local council election, because if it was, their defeat would be even more profound. Because, of course, all of these things are council matters, and Labour runs the council. And so for the Labour candidate to be trying to turn this into an election about fly tipping and dog poo, when it's Labour that is responsible for the state of the public realm, is perfectly ridiculous. This is of national significance for one important reason. The Conservative majority is massive. It's not going to make much difference if Boris Johnson has a majority of 79, or is it 78, or is it 80? The Labour Party is so powerless in Parliament, it's not going to make any difference if they have one more person on their benches doing and saying nothing that can happen, nothing that can be implemented. It's of national significance because a Labour defeat here will trigger a series of political earthquakes which will see the downfall of the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer. Why do I care about that? I'm against the Labour Party. It's my job as the leader of a rival party to campaign against them. I care about it for two reasons. First of all, I care about it for democracy. Every country needs an opposition, and Britain currently doesn't have an opposition because the opposition leader is no leader at all. He's so wooden that birds are trying to nest in him. He's so robotic, he might as well be speaking through a speak your weight machine. His words go nowhere, move nobody, persuade nobody. In fact, he's the great persuader of Labour voters to stay at home or indeed to defect to other parties. That's the first reason why I care that Labour has a leader who is, and I've known, I'm older than I look. When I joined the Labour Party in the 1960s, the leader was Harold Wilson from Huddersfield. He was quite something, you know. Harold Wilson was something to see. And then it was James Callaghan. I've known them all. Michael Foot, Neil Kinnock, John Smith, God rest his soul, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Ed Miliband, Jeremy Corbyn. I've known them all, and Keir Starmer is the worst leader of the Labour Party I have ever seen. It would be laughable if it were not so tragic, just how bad he is. That's the first reason. Britain needs a properly functioning opposition and currently doesn't have one. The second reason is, although Tony Blair expelled me from the Labour Party, the best part of 20 years ago, he didn't and couldn't expel me from the Labour movement, because that's not in his power. I joined the Transport and General Workers Union on Christmas Eve of 1973, when I went to work in the Michelin tyre factory in Dundee in Scotland. And I was one of the very few Labour MPs by the end who never went to a university, who was genuinely working class, who could make tires when most Labour MPs couldn't even change one if they got a puncture. I was one of, and am still one of, the few figures in Labour movement politics that can walk and talk amongst the working class in this country. Because I share their life experience. I have lived it. And I could go into how poor my background was, but that would be unbecoming. By the grace of God and my hard work, my children who are here this evening don't have the childhood that I had. But I never left. You could take me out of the street, but you can't take the street out of me. The experiences that shaped me forever. I'd like to explain, if I may, that, and there's a journalist here this evening I had the pleasure of talking to earlier. If she'll forgive me, I'm going to repeat one or two of the things that I said to her. I am economically radical. I am radical on foreign policy, but I am a social and cultural conservative. I always joke, I'm a straight white male, married with 6 children. Maybe I should just get my coat. Because in left-wing politics these days, people like me are not all that prevalent. People who've lived the lives I live are not all that prevalent. I have social and cultural and religious views that some people say are right-wing. They're not right-wing, but they are conservative. And I believe that those social and cultural conservative moral stances are the majority stances in this country, in all communities. In the Muslim community, for sure, but also in the non-Muslim communities in this constituency. They think like me about issues of family, issues of nation, issues of military, defense policy, and so on. Labour is entirely foreign to all of those things. If a Labour politician were to talk like I'm talking now, they would be torn down by the liberal social media hordes who are more concerned about personal pronouns, more concerned about other people's sex, gender, sexual preferences, and all these other madnesses. I regard these as being in the personal realm. God will judge all of us on the judgment day for how we lived our lives. All I say is don't ram these things down my throat, or more importantly, don't try and ram them down the throat of my children. I insist on a say in what my children are taught at a school that I pay for. We're all taxpayers here. We pay for these schools. These teachers are paid by us. And we have a right to know and to have a say in what they are teaching our children. And I believe that their balance has gone way, way too far away from the parent, whether it's on sexual matters or on religious matters. If you have a school full of Muslim children, of Muslim families, you have a right to expect that the teacher in that school is not going to gratuitously and in a shocking way insult the Prophet of the religion of the children and the parents. And that's cool, that's not asking too much, is it? That's not to say, of course, that our response is violence. We completely abhor violence and threats and will not accept them. That's illegal in this country. And we all must obey the law. But equally, a people's religious identity should not be gratuitously insulted in the way that we know recently happened here. If I'd been the MP, that wouldn't have happened. Because as soon as the dreadful events in France occurred, I would have been in the schools talking to the head teachers to make sure that nothing like that happened here. And if, perchance, it had happened here, I would have led in a coherent way, in a way that could be understood by the majority population here. I would have led the response to it, and we would have got farther in our response. So this is of national importance, this event. But it's also of international importance. You know, there are many places in Britain where ordinary people on the street don't even know who Keir Starmer is. But in Batley and Spen, everybody knows who he is. And everyone's got a point of view about it. How so? Because Keir Starmer is personally responsible for changing Labour's policy on two important issues of importance, more than importance, to a significant number of people in this constituency. There are 24,000 Muslim voters in this constituency. If you add their children not yet of voting age, that's a lot of people. And Keir Starmer is personally responsible for having changed Labour's policy on Kashmir, as we're in the Kashmir and Pakistan welfare hall. I should use that example first. He changed Labour's policy from one of actively seeking international intervention in the subjugation of the people of Kashmir and a recognition of Britain's colonial role in causing the crisis in Kashmir. Keir Starmer ripped all that up and declared that the Kashmir question was a bilateral matter between India and Pakistan, which of course means that it would never be resolved because the Indian government has no interest in resolving it. This betrayal of people who voted loyally for Labour for decades, all their lives in some cases, over the issue of Kashmir is one of the reasons why so many people in this constituency both know of Keir Starmer and are determined that he should be disappointed on July the 1st. And the second is because when Gaza was burning and hundreds of people, half of them women and children, were being massacred like fish in a barrel over the last few weeks, beginning in Ramadan, the Labour attitude was, well, Israel has a right to defend itself. defend itself with the world's most powerful rockets and bombs and munitions and fighter jets and even battleships at sea against the people with virtually no means of defending themselves. When the Al-Aqsa Mosque was invaded and desecrated by illegal settlers on Laylat al-Qadr, the holiest night of Ramadan, Labour said nothing, did nothing, said nothing. And the people of this constituency know it. Now I have, and I'm coming to a close, I see you're anxious. I have fought for both of those causes all of my life. Kashmir and Palestine matter to me, and if they matter to you, I hope you'll show it in the ballot box on the 1st of July. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for the wonderful speech as well. Believe me or not, we've got a message from Buckinghamshire. It says, well done to putting these hustings together. Labour really scared. Everyone should support the great George Galloway, Imran from Buckinghamshire. It just goes to show how our radio reaches out. It's a big reach. It's a big reach. It's a big reach. And not only we're here for the community in Batley and Spen, George's words are not just in the UK, because we're an online radio. Our voices here.
I've just had a couple of texts from Canada saying that they're listening to George.
Canada,
Yes,
yeah.
Canada.
We reach out as far as Barbados, India, Pakistan. We've even got listeners in
In
Gaza.
fact, they sent me the link to the YouTube.
There you go then. There you go. So not only about radio, again, because we're with emails as well. So not only is getting transmitted via Facebook, it's getting transmitted in everybody's homes as well. To send a message as well, same on the Labour Conservative Party candidate for checking out this election hustings, as they knew George Galloway will wipe the floor with them. They have no respect for unparalleled media, organisers, electoral, to other candidates. These are the voters we corrected their absence from Suri Mutala. Obviously, yes, there has been a lot of controversy going on now as well. It's opened a lot of people's eyes as well. From going further, obviously, we are streaming live on Facebook as well. There are a lot of people watching and listening in the homes via our all social media networks as well. George, I'm going to read the message out to you, what Labour said to me just before the start of the live. Just very quickly, just wanted your opinion, obviously, what you thought about this also as well. Just wait 1 second, I'll just get the message up as well. Right, okay. Hi, sir. I'm really sorry, but I just had the word that if the Tories aren't going to be here tonight, then Kim shouldn't attend either. This is clearly a two-horse race between the Tories and Labour. So it's only right that Kim debates the Tory candidates. The poll out today shows in stark terms that Galloway can't win and might not even get the required percentage to get the deposit back. Kim should only be debating those with a serious chance of winning. I'm sorry, hope you understand. Now, before obviously I let George into this as well, before as I mentioned earlier on, it's not about who is winning, who is not winning as well. Hustings night tonight was made for the people of the community in Batley and Spen. There's been a lot of confusion on who to vote, who not to vote. As Al-Barak Radio, we're a very independent radio organization. We don't take anybody's sides. We always said we run with open doors, and we gave this opportunity to all the parties to come forward and speak about their aims and objectives, what they are planning to do. Now, if they want to pull out on the last minute, as an independent person, as an organization, for me, it doesn't look good. We talk about losing deposits. We don't talk about losing money. What have we as an organization? It took a lot of time and effort for us to get this. It's not easy to organize. wants, basically something like this. So we even took our time now, we invested in this. And for them to turn away on the last minute, I'm sorry, for me, it's not good. I'm really sorry to say. So George, going back to the question, or rather reply, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, that everyone watching and listening knows that that's not the real reason that Labour are not here. And so it's dishonest. The reason Labour are not here is because they are scared to face me in a debate in which issues on which they have no leg to stand on will obviously be raised. Secondly, the poll to which Labour refer was a telephone poll of 500 people, only 100 of whom were Asian people, 400 of whom were not Asian people. I could give you a poll right now of Mount Pleasant that shows me with about 85 to 90% of the poll. And Labour knows this. Labour knows, first of all, that the Asian people are more likely to vote on polling day than others. That's a matter of electoral fact, that the Asian community polls heavily. Secondly, a poll of 500 people is statistically utterly inadequate in these circumstances, where I have enormous support in one part of the community, 24,000 voter part of the community, giving a completely false result. I'll eat my hat live on Mubarak Radio if Labour are not third in this by-election. I'll eat it on your show. So for them to claim that it's a two-horse race, it is a two-horse race. Unfortunately, they are not one of the horses.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George, to also answer that question. Well, I asked for a reply. We do have a few questions of people, as we mentioned, our messages coming through left, right, and centre. I've got one here from, so we'll read out first, from Reverend Matt Public, the Vicar of Batley. I worked for the last 7 years alongside others, trying to bring communities together here in Batley and Spen. What are your plans to help this? If you're elected, what have you done in the last years to build community cohesion with people of all faiths and beliefs?
Well, I'm very strongly in favour of belief. That's the first thing. I don't know if the vicar is aware that that's not true of all the other candidates. I'm a believer, vicar. Not all the candidates are believers. And so you can count on me to stand up for faith, because I have faith. Not all the candidates have faith. I will work with all sections of this community. I spent this afternoon on wind-swept, neglected council and former council house estate all over this constituency, in Bristol, in Cleckheaton, in Windygate. I was Windybank. I was everywhere this afternoon amongst people who have lost faith. And I'm receiving really unexpected levels of support in those areas. I hope to restore faith in those areas. I hope to bring those areas together with the people who live in these areas as one community.
Yeah.
As one community. It's Labour that divides the communities.
Absolutely. Well said.
It's Labour that divides. people on the basis of identity politics. I am one of Britain's foremost campaigners against identity politics. So, Vicar, be still your beating heart. I have every intention of working closely with you and all faith leaders to restore faith in these communities.
Thank you, John, to answer the biggest questions also as well. We've got quite a few questions on what we've sent out since this morning and over the past week. I'm just going to quickly go through them. Obviously, there's only George here, so George won't take us that long. And obviously, these dues, obviously, it's for the community also as well. John, upstairs Batley Library, first floor, there's a very good space for events. Do you agree this space should be utilised better in terms of having debates and the local to be kept in the loop? Example, Leeds Bradford Airport extension against railway being built in Hector Light for case, Scotland Wales extra having United Kingdom for case. Do you agree with this, or what better can you make?
Well, I don't know the space, but I intend to form a Batley and Spen Parliament, if I'm the MP here, that will meet and allow people with points of view to freely debate them in a forum that I will organise and pay for. And I'll help if I can be forgiven for putting it this way. I'll help to develop people. I'll help to develop their speaking skills, their debating skills. Even my worst enemies acknowledge that I'm quite good at public speaking. I am an award-winning public speaker, and I will help to develop. I see a lot of young kids here. During the time that I'm the Member of Parliament here, I'll develop their skills. And maybe one day they'll be in the British Parliament or in the Kirklees Council, and better able to handle it than some of the people that are there now.
Dewsbury District Hospital needs an update and should be named Batley and Dewsbury District Hospital. Do they agree, and what steps will you take?
I strongly agree. I met a man the other day. I went to his door in Mount Pleasant. He was in a plaster cast and he was about to go for an Achilles tendon operation, except he could no longer go to the local hospital for that operation and had no means of driving or going on a bus there. The National Health Service provision in this area is an absolute scandal. It's no wonder the Conservatives didn't come. What the Conservatives have done to the health service in places like this is a national disgrace. And if I'm your Member of Parliament, I will fight for exactly that. And moreover, let me say, because not everybody knows this, they're actually abolishing Batley and Spen constituency at the next election. Hetman White's going in with Dewsbury, and everybody else is going in with just about everybody else. All the way to Halifax. A parliamentary constituency is supposed to be based on real communities, recognised communities. And if I can, I'll stop that in its tracks. So count on me as a champion of the National Health Service. I always have been. Don't forget, I spent almost 30 years as a Member of Parliament, therefore have a record to show, but I always will.
Thank you. I've got a question from one of the local residents in the Batley Mount Pleasant area. Henry Jackson Society is infuriating our politics. Do you agree they should be banned?
Well, I'm not generally in favour of banning organisations. I think that's a bad policy. but I can show you my scars inflicted by the Henry Jackson Society. I think we have to defeat these people in argument. Our arguments are better than theirs, and we need to persuade others of that.
Headlines: who is Danny Lockwood over the news and over the press and newspaper is fueling hatred within the community, particularly divisions between the Muslims and other faiths. Do you agree? Again, he should be banned from public sphere, e.g. social media, and what steps will you take?
No, I don't believe, as I just said, I don't believe in banning people. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to meet with this gentleman because I think he needs to know some of the true facts that he may in the past have been misguided or misled about. So if he's watching now, as you know, I have reached out to you to talk with you, and you said you would message me to set up such a meeting. I hope that you will do so.
Thank you. As you're aware, we've got a really bad homeless percentage in the Batley and Spen area. HSBC are doing bank accounts for the homeless. Do you agree all banks should be doing this?
Yes, and of course there soon will be no banks in Batley at all. And how are the people here going to manage without a bank to go to? It's all very well saying it's internet banking, telephone banking, but I meet people all day and every day that don't have the skill set to do all of their business online or on the telephone. And one after another, these banks are flying the course. They are disappearing, trying to turn us all into people who live by plastic, which has its benefits for big business, of course, because then they can market their products directly to us because we already bought some. I'm against an all-plastic society. I think cash is a good thing. And the poorer you are, the more cash is important. A lot of people don't even qualify for a piece of plastic. So we need banks, and the banks need to be responsive to the needs of the community. But in case it doesn't come up, can I nick the opportunity here of saying there is homelessness and there is overcrowding, perhaps even more. But some people have struck it lucky. Our police station has been sold by Labour for 246,000, the property theft of the century. A listed building in the centre of Batley. I hope it's none of you that bought it. A listed building in the centre of Batley, a big, beautiful police station that we desperately need, will shortly be luxury flats that not many people watching this could afford to buy.
Thank you. We've got a couple of questions from one of the locals again. He says, questions for George Galloway. George, in his statement, letter wrote, if you elect me on 1st of July, I'll serve only one term. I won't stand again. Why only one term?
Because the constituency is being abolished. So whoever is elected on the 1st of July will only be standing for one term as the Member of Parliament for Batley and Spen.
Okay, the same person obviously says another question as well. George left Bethnal Green after serving as an MP. To serve as an MP in Bradford when he only lasted one term, how can we take George seriously?
Well, you don't have to take me seriously, you don't have to vote for me. But thousands of people are taking me very seriously indeed, including my Labour opponent who was afraid to face me tonight. That's quite a big compliment, actually. So, first of all, I left Bethnal Green because I promised I would. I promised the people before the election that I would serve only one term. and I'm a man that keeps his promises. I'm a man that means what he says and says what he means. I said in Bethnal Green in 2005 that I would leave after one term in the hope that someone from the local Bengali community would succeed me, because at that point they had never had an MP. Now, unfortunately, they chose the wrong Bengali, but the MP there is now a Bengali. And I'll make you this promise. I'll do everything I can to help your community here to be the next Member of Parliament for whatever this next constituency is for.
Here's another message from the South. The polls are heavily misleading. I'm from where the Liberal Democrats took an ultra-safe Tory seat. They have similar polls here saying the Tories would win. So use your votes wisely. George would be an amazing MP. Everyone should support him from the South.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We've also got, to be fair, we've got a lot of questions flying in from all angles, because from all over the world, all over the world, from from London all the way down to Yorkshire.
Big audience tonight then.
It is got a lot of big audience.
Labour shouldn't have missed it.
Definitely not. Definitely got a big actually viewing it and listening us online as well. Question for George Galloway. What is your opinion on Nigel Farage?
Well, I'm a strong supporter of Brexit, and I was long before Nigel Farage had ever been heard of. I was the tea boy and tobacco pouch carrier of the late and great Tony Benn in the first referendum in 1975. Imagine. I was 21 years old, nobody knew me, but Mr. Benn did. And Mr. Benn saw something in me, and I was with him from my late teenage years and at his sad funeral with my good wife, who's here this evening. I was with Mr. Benn, and I followed him, and I follow him still. And his belief that Britain needed to leave the European Union is one that I share. And so in a referendum, it's a binary choice. You're either for or against something. You're either saying yes or no to something. If I'd said I wanted to remain in the European Union, I'd have been on the same side as Tony Blair, dripping in the blood of 1 million Iraqis.
Shame on him.
And that would have been far more uncomfortable for me than being on the same side as Nigel Farage, who never killed anybody, unlike Tony Blair, who killed 1 million Iraqis, and many others now around the world losing their lives as a result. So this kind of game of you are on the same side as this person or that side doesn't interest me. I'm glad that we left the European Union. I'm determined that we make the best of it. I share only one policy with Nigel Farage, and that was leaving the European Union. But I will say this, Nigel Farage changed the course of British history, and he's quite popular in some places, including many of the working class estates that I talked about earlier that I've been working in today. So if any Labour people think that associating me with Nigel Farage loses me votes, keep it coming.
There you go. You sound very, very confident today. 100%. Okay, we've got another question come through, and it's a bit of a complimentary question. So I'm going to read it out, only fair for the viewers and the listeners who have actually messaged this question. I need to read it out. We live in a diplomacy and we respect the LGBT law. Together we condemn violence against the people of LGBT and respect people's lifestyle choice. However, Do you think the government has forced the SRE, sex and relations education, subject like LGBT into school curriculum at a very early age, when in fact children should be playing and learning and more on learning about relationship until they are mature? And should the parents have a say whether they would like the child to study this subject or not?
Well, I couldn't agree more, actually, with the questioner. I agree, and I think, if I heard you correctly, every particular. We are absolutely opposed to hate of anyone for what they are. We reserve the right to be opposed to people for what they do, but not for what they are. No one should be subject to hate because they are brown or black or gay or any other orientation. But that doesn't mean that I want my small children, many of whom are here in this room now, taught, first of all, when they're still small children, about matters that they have no need to know about at that tender age, and I insist on my right to have a say in what they are taught, when they are taught it. And I made my views, I think, clear enough earlier. It's bad enough here, you should see it in Scotland. In this venerable place, and in mixed company, and with children present. I will not go into details, but if you saw some of the teaching materials on this matter provided by the Scottish Government and intended to be used in Scottish schools, you would be utterly horrified. And that's not good enough. So this relates to the point that I made earlier, sir. We're the parents, we're paying for the schools. And so we have to have a say in what is taught to our children and when, and a right to withdraw our children from certain things if the school insists on continuing to do so. That's what I will do as a parent. If I lose the argument in my own children's schools, I'll take my children away from those schools. I don't believe that the sexualization of children is tolerable in the least, and it's nothing to do with sexual orientation. I would be as opposed to my children being taught at the early age they are being taught about straight relationships as I am about gay relationships. It's far too early and unnecessary.
Thank you, George, for answering that question as possible as you can. How would you tackle the rising far-right threats in our community?
First of all, by not calling everyone who says and thinks things that we don't like far-right. The fastest way to make them far-right is to call them far-right. Is to call someone, everyone, one step to the right of you, far-right. And 2 steps, call them a fascist. That's wrong. I have known many racists, including black racists and brown racists and white racists. Racism's not the monopoly of white people. You have to convince and educate and argue people. And I've been doing it all day. Trust me on that. All day I've been answering the point that Labour only exists for people of colour, for example, or other sections of the community. And this can evince itself in words that can seem to be racist, may even be racist. But we have to win these people back. I have to convince these people. Your problem's not with Abdul that owns the corner shop. Your problem's with someone else altogether, who's the same colour as you and me, him and me. He's got blue eyes and a white face just like us. He's the problem, not Muhammad, who lives down the road from you. That's how you fight racism. Now, fascism is a real thing. And there are two fascist candidates standing in this by-election. But mark my words, all the far-right parties in this by-election, and there are several of them, will not poll more than 1,000 votes between them. That's my prediction. The vast majority of the people in this constituency are not fascists. And whilst we should tackle fascism, oppose it, we should not make the mistake of branding everyone who's not yet on our side as being fascist, because that is actually the fastest way to make them.
Thank you, George. Why are leaders from major parties coming to the area for a photo opportunity but are actually committed to engage with the local residents or facing agreement with them? Are they too scared to be put on the spot by residents? Well, today's public.
A perfect example.
For example, what's happened?
You took the words out of my mouth, but there are two other examples I could give, or three if I may quickly. First of all, Andy Burnham came here just to take a photo because he intends to be the next leader of the Labour Party when Keir Starmer is toppled as a result of Labour's defeat here in Batley and Spen on the 1st of July. And he had to be able to say that he came here. He actually only stood around for a bit and got a few pictures taken and then was off-ski back to Manchester, which is where he's paid to do a job. Keir Starmer came here and refused to meet the community. And he did so for an obvious reason. Because what he's got to say to the community is extremely unpopular amongst the community. Boris Johnson did a bit better in Foxes. I saw him bouncing around like Biffo the bear, bumping elbows with the workers, dubbed up in a mask that he used to insult Muslim women for wearing. Because he's got at least a bit of personal, person-to-person skills. If Keir Starmer had gone in, he would have looked like a robot marching through the factory. I am a Dalek. They're here just because they are terrified of what the result might be. They're here because it is their worst nightmare that you send me to Parliament to speak for you and to articulate the demands of this community, because it might catch on. People might say, well, if we can do that in Batley and Spen, why can't we do that in Dewsbury? Why can't we do that in Wakefield? Well, there may very well be a parliamentary by-election quite soon. Why can't we do that in Leicester East? Well, there might be another quite soon. Might catch on. People rejecting the parties that have failed them. People rejecting the politicians that have betrayed them. Whoa. The threat of a good example, that's what we are.
Okay, can you commit to supporting independent shops, businesses in the Batley and Spen Town Centre?
Yes, I have a policy for, I had it long before this by-election, what I call a corona tax. I want a windfall profits tax on the biggest companies that made the most money during the pandemic. I don't need to spell them out, you know them, Amazon and all the others that have tripled, quintupled their profits during the pandemic. And I want to use that corona tax, in part, to rescue the businesses that have been driven to the wall by the pandemic and the changes in the economy that the pandemic has produced. And it could be done Quite simply, as a windfall profit tax, it's been done before, done on the oil companies, for example, and that windfall profit tax could be a very tidy sum that could rescue some of the businesses that are in real danger of closing down as we come out of the pandemic and the changes to the economy that have occurred.
Can you please, well, I'm reading this question, as they are. Can each candidate please discuss one green issue that they're passionate about and how they implement this change to our town? Please no general answers about how you committed to green issues and want a better, greener community in as everyone says that.
Subhanallah, I had no idea that this subject was going to come up, but I realized that I had meant to make a point earlier that I can now make. When I was young, and there are some people here as old as me, every park had a park ranger, a park keeper, and everyone was scared of them. They were like a policeman in uniform, and people would say, "There's the parking, run," if you were up to no good. I am campaigning for the return of the park keeper, the return of the park ranger. He used to have a little house in the park that was part of his wages, this accommodation. That park ranger kept every park pristine as a park, where you could send your children to, in those days, without even you having to go with them. They were safe in the park. And they were not going to stand on a needle or on broken glass. They were not going to be menaced by some pervert lurking around, because the park ranger would chase them and call the police if necessary. We are a dear green place. This is a green and pleasant land. Let's get back to those days when we had a park ranger in every park. It will create tens of thousands of jobs, and it will make every park a green space that all of us can love and treasure.
Thank you, John. Okay, can each candidate please explain what steps to take against China for the atrocities against the Uyghurs, which have been widely documented by news agencies, but more important for the members of the community? Will each candidate pledge to work towards creating legislation that prevents China from using forced labour camps? What action will candidates take against companies who is completely using forced labour in the factories across China?
Well, unfortunately, I'm the only candidate here, so if that was intended as a question to allow someone to launch some big attack on China, it failed because the other candidate didn't turn up. I've got a very simple answer on this. I've given it on your show several times already. If I'm the MP here, I'm going to take a fact-finding mission of the most significant people from the Muslim community here in Batley and Spen to China, insisting on access to everywhere that we want to go. And I already have agreement to do that with China. So we'll investigate what these news agencies that the questioner refers to. And if the questioner wants to come, he's welcome. And wherever he thinks these places are, we'll go and see them. I think that's the best way I can answer that. Let's go and get the evidence of our own eyes. But I don't hate China, by the way. China is my children go to Chinese school. China is soon to be the most important country in the world. And it's good that we have good relations with them. It's good that we understand them and they understand us. I know that the United States hates China because China is stealing its lunch. but it's not stealing my lunch, and it's not stealing your lunch. And as a matter of fact, Chinese lunch is quite good. So I want to have good relations with China. I don't accept the slander against China, and I'm ready to take those who have fallen for the slander anywhere they want to go in China so that they can see with their own eyes.
We just had a comment on Facebook that we take any questions. If anybody wants to ask any questions on Facebook Live, they can do it, the team will pass it on to me. That's not a problem. If anyone wants to ask any questions, please do ask us. We don't want to be prolonging too long, as other candidates cancelled on the last minute.
I've got to speak for an hour and a half.
I'll keep it very quick as well. You know, obviously I'd like to thank everybody who has asked so many questions. I'm just trying to get as many questions out as I can. And if I can just talk about more about the local community as happening in Batley and Spen. Obviously, we know there's a big crime rate in Batley and Spen area. We've discussed this on the radio also as well, regarding the issues what we have in the Batley and Spen. And your client want to solve all this as quick as you can.
Yes, I won't go over what I said about the police station, but it is the fact that Labour has shut the police stations in this constituency. And in the middle of a crime wave, there were 460 violent or sexual crimes committed in Batley and Spen last month, and Labour shut the police station and sold it for peanuts. This is unacceptable. And I give you this pledge, that I will get a police station reopened here. If it's too late to stop the sale to some crony of the beautiful police station that we had, well, they'll have to open another one. And I have a mandate for that if I'm elected. It's an election pledge, and if you elect me, I'll have a mandate for it. And I'll get it. But the issue about crime is more serious than just about policing. I met a woman today. I thought it was bad enough that you waited 40 minutes for the police to come when they dialed 999. And I had found 3 people like that. But today, I went one better. I found a woman whose car was torched outside her door and burned brightly until it was a shell, a total write-off. She phoned the fire brigade and the police. The fire brigade came, but the police have never come. Never come. The police have not even taken a statement from a woman whose car was burned out on a housing estate in this constituency. My last point, though, is the most profound one, and my close associate, Tanisha Bramwell, is here, a community organiser of the greatest note, and will be working in my constituency office right here in the constituency should I be elected. She knows that this is true, better than anyone else in this room. If you close youth services, if you cut all the things which were never plentiful that young people could avail themselves of and do, you're leaving the children on the streets. And the devil finds work for idle hands. If there's nothing for young people to do, and no hope of anything for young people to do, they're going to get involved in crime, either as the victims of crime or, God forbid, as the perpetrators of crime. So sometimes the criminals are not just confined to the criminal on the street. Sometimes the criminal is the politician that closed down the youth facilities and the youth services that led that young person down that path to wickedness and even evil.
Just to stop you there, George, talking about youth services, I think in the Batley and the community Spen area, that is a big issue for our youngsters, especially when the summer holidays are now coming up, where a lot of deprived families can't afford to go on holidays, and a lot of families who can't afford to take kids out on a day trip. Shutting down the youth services, do you think that was a huge mistake? And do you think we should bring something back together to help our local community children who can't afford to go to big family holidays or go away for a weekend?
Youth services should have been the last thing to be cut, but was in fact the first thing to be cut. And youth services scarcely exist across the whole of this country now. And then we complain about the inevitable result. It costs £50,000 a year to keep a young man in prison. It's more expensive to keep him in prison than it is to send them to Eton, the world's most celebrated private school. A stitch in time saves 9. If you'd invested the cost of the money that you're going to have to pay to deal with the consequences of criminality in stopping the young person becoming a criminal in the first place, you would have saved lives, you would have saved property, and you would even have saved money. For those that worship money, for those that know the price of everything and the value of nothing, you would have saved yourself money if you invested in something to divert the young people from the criminal path.
I think if we can't give the youth what they want, they're going to go down that road.
Yeah.
Or, they're going to, well, any...
Including our own children.
Nonsense.
This can happen to any family.
They're going to entertain themselves. In school holidays when they've got nothing to do, nowhere to go. What are they going to do? They're going to go down that road and they're going to end up starting crimes. So I think personally, youth centres and everything should be brought back for every community.
Of course.
For not just for Batley and Spen, but every. But let's see if you could.
Let's start here.
Let's start here. Let's start with the Batley and Spen. See if you could bring that back for that also. Flight ticket job has been a big issue in the Batley and Spen area also. How would you tackle that?
Well, how would you tackle it, you see, as I said at the beginning? It's not the job of the MP to tackle flight tipping. It's the job of Kirklees Council to tackle flight tipping. And why haven't they done so? Why haven't they done so? And who runs Kirklees Council? Labour runs Kirklees Council. Do something about the flight tipping.
Huddersfield Town runs Kirklees Council.
Thank you, John, for the answer. Obviously, this is such. Okay. This is now this is for the special needs of children for the Batley and Spen. Obviously, we've got schools helping special needs. Will George help special needs children going to mainstream with asking for more funding, always cutting, and schools on a very low budget as it is? I don't understand that.
I give you my promise on that. I have had a meeting already with parents of children with Down syndrome, and I'm committed to working with them, and I'm determined that the children with special needs as a whole are properly looked after here. A society is measured by how it treats its most vulnerable people, not how it treats its most privileged people, but how it treats its most vulnerable people. And who could be more vulnerable than children with special needs?
Especially children, obviously, we've got treat them better. We saw their fault of the way they are. It's how they were born, and we just need to give them that extra TLC, as they say, and make them better and give them whatever we can give also. I don't know if anybody else has got any questions in the audience who has turned up. If you are pleased to come forward and answer the questions from very well answered. I was quickly going to check my phone if anything has come through or any questions from anybody. Just bear with me a second. So, you promised a lot of things to the community, which I hope you will fill, and I hope you will get where you need to go. But going back to the questions of your campaign, where will you go if you don't win?
I'll go home. I'll go home, but our campaign will continue. We will be a presence in this area of West Yorkshire long after I've gone, because the political need for people like us is very real. It's objectively real. You can see it and touch it and feel it. So you can look on me as Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I'm ready to score a lot of goals for you for a few seasons, and I'll put you on the map. Batley and Spen will be on the map, not just across Britain, but across the world, if you elect me. If you elect Tweedledee or Tweedledum, who's going to notice? I mean, really, you know that to be true. If any of my opponents are successful, you'll never hear the word Batley in the national or international media ever again. Even the Batley variety is shut. If you want to put Batley on the map, if you want to make history for Batley, if you want to see politics changed by Batley, you've got to elect me on the 1st of July.
So basically,
Thank you very much. I will chase the council to fill in the potholes, not least because my own car has taken quite a beating here. And I've got a Volvo which is very, very hardy, but it's taken quite a beating here. But it's not my job, it's the council's job to do the potholes. I have made one election pledge, not far from here, in Mount Pleasant. There's a zebra crossing, so faded that nobody can see it's a zebra crossing. Just at the absolute crossing near the post office. I will paint that zebra crossing on my hands and knees with a paintbrush and a pot of paint myself. The first act, before I head for the House of Commons, I will paint that zebra crossing because it's so offensive. And someone's going to get killed on it because the pedestrian steps off knowing that they're on a zebra crossing, but the driver doesn't know it's a zebra crossing because he can't see it. And they've been chasing Kirklees for years to paint this zebra crossing. I'll paint it on day one.
We'll be voting JG as he's made an effort to come and give answers to the public. Excellent. I will be voting with George Galloway. A lot of people are coming to that. But one question I do want to ask before we do finish the show very, very quickly. A lot of Muslims and a lot of people in the community, and I know you answered this, and I know I've spoken about this on our radio station, is Asad from Syria and the stance for the Muslims. Very quickly, do you want to elaborate on this?
Yeah, I mean, as they say in Parliament, I rely on the answer I gave the last 20 times Labour arranged for me to be asked this. I support the right of any people living under a dictatorship to rise up and overthrow that dictatorship. It's a human right, it's a legal right, it's a moral right. But don't ask me to support my country bombing your country or any other country. I won't. I have spent my life opposing war. The funny thing is, some of the people that want me to support Britain and America bombing Syria are the same people who carried me on their shoulders when I opposed Britain and America bombing Iraq. I was against it in Iraq and I'm against it in Syria.
Thank you, John, for that. Okay, we're going to end this show very, very quickly now. What any last words for you to get them votes in from the Batley and Spen? I will ask this question to all the candidates here. Unfortunately, again, I will repeat myself. People who have joined and who've been watching so many of the shows, all the candidates were invited, along with George, by the way. But unfortunately, Labour cancelled on the last minute. Conservatives pulled out. Yorkshire Party was supposed to be coming also as well, but they stopped. No. Liberal Democrats, they sent an email 10 days before the show starts. So all the candidates were given the chance. Now, as Anwar Radio, who is a radio station for the people, for the community back in Spen, we thought we'll get this together and give everybody, all the candidates, to come forward and talk about their objects and aims. Now, only George managed to come, but anyway, it was a matter of going to to this. But I would ask everybody, every candidate, the same question. Like asking George again, that what is your last words to the people of Batley and Spen for them to get their votes to you?
Bismillah. These will not be my last words, I hope. And neither will they be the last words in this campaign. There are 12 days left to go, and we will fight until the last moment of the last day to win this battle. If God wills it, and the electorate agree to elect me, I'll do a great job for you. But there's two things I never do. I won't tell lies for votes, and I won't beg for votes. You can elect me or not elect me. By the grace of God, I have 6 children. I don't need money. I don't need fame. I don't need anything from the people in Batley and Spen or anywhere else. Nothing that matters to me can be taken away by anyone. I fear only God on the last day, on the judgment day. So you can elect me or not elect me. I think you should take the chance. I think it will have positive consequences. I think it will be good for you. And I think it will lead to quite dramatic political changes in the country. I think you should take that opportunity. Just as I'd say that, Leeds United should take Ibrahimovic when he comes, if he's ready to play. It's not rocket science. If you elect one of the others, nothing will change. If you do the same as you always did, you'll get what you always got. That's obvious. Labour are not going to make any difference to your life. If they were, they would already have done it. And the Conservatives, well, what do I need to say about that? At least the Tories wear what they are and what they do on their sleeves. They're not lying to you. They stand for the interests of the richest people. Labour, on the other hand, are jackals in sheep's clothing. Nobody likes a jackal. It's my job to take the sheep's clothing off them.
Thank you very much for taking the time and the last words to the people from Batley and Spen. Just like to thank Crystal Sound as well, who came out on Saturday he was live as well. Nationals come and transmit it. It's not even just in our local area, but obviously whoever is got this subscription, they can listen to George also as well. So I'd like to thank the brothers who took the time out. And again, of you guys also coming up as well, the team took the Saturday afternoon off for this also. Unfortunately, the other candidates that turned up today, everybody was given an invite, a fair invite was given to everybody. Unfortunately, there are other plans, probably barbecue or something like that. But anyway, we're going to end this show. I thank again everyone who has watched and listened to us to our radio. And I would also end the show how we normally end the show by going to streaming live. At the end of the day, we are the travelers of this world, and our destination is a dream. You have been listening and watching on our radio websites of Present Air and at London Gallery. Until the next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you, Madinah.